Hello, Ulrike, and welcome to our interview today, which we are going to discuss about event sustainability post-COVID-19. You work for VOK DAMS, the leading events communication experiential events agency in Germany, but with offices globally. And you are based in the Frankfurt and Stuttgart office. You are responsible for these two locations. So before we begin with our topic, can you please share a little bit about yourself and about the work done in Frankfurt and Stuttgart?
Yes, well, first of all, many thanks for having me here and for sharing my insight on this very important topic, which I think. So, just a couple of words about myself. So, I have been with VOK DAMS for a long time, for more than 16 years now. And I still enjoy every day what I do. So, I had the possibility to spend some time in China, and now the last 6 years I'm back in Germany, and I'm working with my teams here to produce events, so be it live, be it digital, or be it hybrid.
Excellent. So today our topic is event sustainability, and a lot has changed in this space in the past 18 months. We've been doing virtual events in the past year, a bit more than a year, and now we are back to live events. And a lot of things have changed, and I would like to ask you how you at VOK DAMS approach sustainability. So let's start with the first question. When developing an event concept, what are the relevant sustainable factors at VOK DAMS?
Yeah, well, I think this is a very good question, pointing out to the concept phase, because this is always a tricky phase of a project, because normally when we develop, we are also in the pitch process. So we only have very limited time, a lot of pressure. So we have to come up with a great new idea, which is within the budget, which is feasible, maybe also having in a backup some hybrid or digital solutions. So it's already a super busy time. So that's why for us, when we develop now concepts, we really like to focus on the key drivers of emission. Because of course, there's a long list and they are all important to look at, but which are really the four key main pillars when we look into sustainable events. These are mobility, catering, sourcing, and last but not least, also very important, the location itself. So that in this very busy stage, which is very often long days, short nights, really focus on these key points to start off in the right way, because this is key, to start off in the right way, to walk into the right direction, into a true sustainable event.
Absolutely. I like how you have these four factors that you are focusing from the get-go and work around them. In sustainable times like this, and that we talk about sustainability and how to incorporate it into the event, and especially now with natural disasters happening, it's more important than ever to incorporate sustainability and be aware how to do it right. To what extent are your customers willing to give up flying? Is it even an issue?
That's a very sensitive topic, to be honest. I think, especially on the four main pillars, definitely mobility, we know it's one of the driving factors when producing events, but it's still a very sensitive topic. So what we feel slowly, there is a shift in the mindset. So it's not that nothing happened, but definitely slowly, and we hope steadily, in terms of short distance flights. So this is definitely something that we see. So producing events in Germany, that really the participants are encouraged to use train or to pool their car resources. So this is definitely a trend that we see, and that we think is a good trend. But in terms of international travel, slowly. I think it's still part of a lifestyle that many of the customers and participants are used to, and we still know the value of personal interaction. So I think this is really a tricky point that needs still more discussion and probably more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this will have much more discussion and education also to be aware of the different opportunities of mobility. It doesn't have to be just about flying. It can be also train, and also the ease of taking a train. And let's talk about the event programming. So where do you set thematic priorities in terms of sustainability in your programming?
Yes, and I think for this one, in terms of priorities, I actually would like to start one step earlier, because when we look at the four main pillars of mobility, location, vendor sourcing, and catering, we already assume it's more or less a live production. But now in those days, we can really be more creative, because COVID-19 gave us a lot of things which are challenging, but they also really give us new opportunities. They give us new tools, new format. So actually, when we are thinking of developing a program, we like to, sometimes it's not possible, I have to say, but we love to be involved, are ready to consult the client. What is actually the best approach to reach your target group, but also to reach your sustainability goals, and to discuss what are possible hybrid solutions, for example, having rather regional conferences to travel through instead of one big one, or to produce a fully digital event. So this is something we really learned and love to consult, because we have seen all these different formats and opportunities. And then also at the same time, I think we learned what is possible with these new digital opportunities and what's not possible, and to consult on those. So really to be one step before the actual four pillars in just reducing. And also for the new digital opportunities, I have to say, live events, this is why I came to this profession. I love to see people in the room. I love to see smiles. But we also produce digital events where I still have goosebumps. So it was, for example, one pharmaceutical conference for global patients. We won this pitch without ever meeting the client, and we staged the whole production digital. And we had so many emotional moments that now, as we are planning to maybe have a live event in 2 years, I can't wait to meet these persons in person. But itself, the first digital kickoff was super successful. And looking at what kind of emissions we have saved, because these were really global participants, thanks to COVID, we actually really reduced our carbon emission tremendously. So I think this really opened us the eyes, in not just for the first idea to look into how can we reduce the emissions on a live production, but to really think, does it need to be live? Can it also be hybrid, or can it be digital? And then to dive into one of the options. And of course, also digital or hybrid, they don't have zero emissions. So this is also something we always like to say, because sometimes there is the assumption, okay, it's online, so it's good for the environment. We don't have to pay attention. So this is also an element that is very important for us to consult and advise, that although it might be a digital production, there are things to factor in to also make a digital production sustainable.
Absolutely, and I think the industry has to start a conversation about the sustainability of digital events, because they are not fully sustainable. Yes, we save on travel, but the emission that is caused by video, for example, video conferencing, is not to be ignored. And I think more education is also necessary in this area. Thank you for sharing your insights. I know that you've been so active in the past months with virtual events, hybrid events, winning awards as well for your clients. So it's very, very impressive how agile and adaptive you've been at VOK DAMS. Destination plays also a very important part in the sustainability agenda. So, which destinations spontaneously come to your mind when you think about sustainability?
Yeah, I think this is an interesting question because some destinations are definitely ahead of others in terms of certain aspects, be it the Scandinavian countries for their e-mobility, or in the Netherlands where they have these fantastic design hotels which are super sustainable and have all certificates. But what we believe and what we really feel, what is very important, that the destination is important, but it's even more important what you make out of this destination. So what kind of exact location you are choosing, what kind of hotels you pick, how are you arranging the transfer? For example, the evening event could be in the same location like the conference. So you already reduce the transfer time, or you have some interesting methods of transfer like bike. So there's a lot of things that you can do in order to upgrade a destination and to work with the destination in order to really improve the footprint you leave. So also what I feel, what is very important when you look into the destinations, that maybe these are really the new times, that most important also to look where the participants come from and to discover something that is maybe in front of you, but you have never looked in detail. I think during lockdown, we all discovered actually how nice the surrounding is, and also what kind of great trip you could do with your family and you wouldn't have done without being forced to stay in this area. Absolutely. So I think the same is true for destinations. So I'm sure there's some uncovered destinations that are definitely worth uncovering. And maybe these are not the big ones we have in mind now, but destinations that are already working on sustainable concept and are in close proximity to the target group, so that we can already start with a mobility as the first point and then build on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this concept of discovering destinations that are nearby. Not requiring also attendees to travel very long distance, because some people are still working from home. And when it comes to also people working from home and childcare and things like that, that before were not a question, now people actually realized how nice it is to be close to home and not necessary traveling for long distance and then just losing time basically in traveling instead of being at the conference. What are your concrete expectations in terms of sustainability when you think of the suppliers?
Yeah, I think for us, and this is also a very important point that is very close to my heart, because I always think suppliers play a key role, because what we do is to create this wow moment, this fantastic moment, this magic moment for our guest. But it's never just the agency. It's always a huge team of sometimes hundreds of persons, be it the fantastic catering staff. So it's a very big group of people that all have to work together to make it successful. So that's why I think also for suppliers, we have to really work closely together. And expectations are good, but I think it's also to work together in a partnership. So right from the beginning, to be very open and transparent on the importance of sustainability. So be it already in the concept and pitch process to say, look, this is an important topic for us. So when you hand in costs, please also share with us what are your ideas, what is your experience, and also what are your credentials. Of course, then also for us, it's very important if we have suppliers that already have certificates, that already have experience to work on normal ways how we now do business, because we have a whole list of things we have to do. So the better a supplier can us support, the more we can really create a wow moment together. So that's why I think certificates, experience, credentials is important. But in the end, it's more or less the mindset to really be open to do things differently. And also the mindset that we like to do for a sustainable event, not to say sustainable events are losing the magic moments or have to be less interesting or less design or less styled. So really have the mindset of the supplier that we are building something new, something unique, and something that is more, maybe because it's less.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Absolutely. And yeah, I love also your comment of saying like working with the same suppliers because you know each other then with the years, and you know how you tick, how you work, and it's great. And if you can also develop into this sustainable direction and really support each other and your clients. Okay, so now coming to the event part of sustainability, how would you define a sustainable event?
Yes, that's actually something where I think there are a lot of different definitions out there. For us, a sustainable event is really a production that considers carefully the impact that the event has on the environment and is really working to reduce this impact, be it in terms of using resources, water, waste, energy, but also, and I think this is also one additional aspect of sustainability, to leave some legacy in this local community. So I think, absolutely, yeah. And for us, I think a long time ago, maybe it was enough to just to have like a waste bin with a big sign, recycle. But now these times are over. So it really has to be something that is in a way thought through from all kind of different factors and steps to reduce the impact on the environment. And also one point I always like to make that basically totally sustainable events, they're not existing. Only we are not doing the events. So it's really about how to reduce the impact. And then, of course, there's also the chance to move it to the next level, to the carbon neutral event. So to say that after the possible reduction, we are also buying the credits, the carbon credits, to really, at the end, after the production itself, to buy certain certificates to offset the emissions we could not prevent. But I think greenwashing is definitely over, and it has to be a topic that has to be taken very seriously. And I think that also a topic that the participants expect, because they are also very smart when they go to a production and see that there is, from the company itself, the topic of sustainability. They also expect that throughout the event production, they can feel and they can see it, and it's taken seriously.
Absolutely, I'm 100% with you on this. Especially the young generation as well, who is coming to the events industry and in their personal life, private lives, they see through this immediately because they have different values. They've grown with different values, and they have different values when they interact with a business. So absolutely. And coming to the last question, and maybe coming to learn more about you, VOK DAMS, in-house. How important is sustainability in-house at VOK DAMS?
Yes, I think for us, the topic of sustainable has been actually around for a long time. So I still remember it was more than 12, 13 years ago. Our CEO, he had the idea of doing the carbon calculator for event productions. And at that time, that was something completely new. So we were the first ones, and then we were a little bit disappointed that not so many were using it, because at that time it was an important topic, but it did slow down a little bit. So for us, already 10 years ago, that was a big topic. And actually for myself, I had the chance 2010 to stage my first sustainable event in China, which was the first time I talked about what kind of materials to use and how to make it less waste, etc. And that was very interesting, because it was actually a production for Walmart, and they staged their sustainability summit for their local vendors in order to inspire them to be more sustainable in their production. So that was very interesting, especially having this topic in China, and that was a new topic for many of them. But that really was the first moment I got in touch with this topic, and we built on it step by step. But I have to say that throughout the production, until up to COVID-19, not every multinational companies had the topic of sustainability in their briefings. So there was a different level of intensity how to do this topic. Some multinational companies were very strict, even had their playbooks, how to source catering, how to source materials. And we loved, of course, to work with them to really fulfill all the requirements. But for some production, it was not given as a requirement. So we also tried to consult, to work on more sustainable ways. But of course, after the last 2 years, now looking at almost every briefing, it's mentioned to have a sustainable event. So that's a big shift, that when we receive briefings now, the topic of sustainability is a big one, and also to showcase credentials.
That's good to hear that briefs today actually involve sustainability, and that is expected, because as you said before, sometimes it's difficult to come up with the topic of sustainability and to pitch it short term to the client. But if it's already in the brief, it's just fantastic. You can already think about it from the get-go, instead of trying later to see, okay, where can we actually add sustainable, and work with the suppliers.
Definitely. And for in-house VOK DAMS, because this is also one question, of course, also how do we deal it in our offices? And so there are big and small steps. So VOK DAMS, we're a member of the UN Global Compact. We also listed in EcoVadis. But these are certificates. More important, I even think, is the mindset. And here I'm really impressed, especially by the new generation, by the young generation. For them, the topic is very important and also very personal. And this is really interesting for me, and also extremely helpful. We have a task force, a sustainability task force at VOK DAMS, which is especially important and driven by the younger staff members. Which I feel is fantastic, because they really also bring in their thoughts, they train, they educate each other. And we even had to change our coffee machine. It was fantastic coffee, but we had to change it in our Frankfurt office because it was not a very sustainable coffee machine with small capsules. So there is a big drive in small and big things, be it green energy that we're using for our power in our offices. So it's a topic that we are not just doing at our productions, but we're also doing in our daily life, in our offices. And that's really important to us from a company perspective, but also from a personal perspective from our teams.
I love it. Because also I think you can gain already a lot of experience by doing it by yourself, and then you can also advise to the clients. This is so good. And I love also the fact that you give so much power and encouragement to the younger generation working for you, and making their voice heard, and giving them this initiative to do the research, incorporate, to make change, because it's about purpose and about values. So I'm so glad that we had this interview, and I could also learn more about your work also behind the scenes. Thank you so much, Ulrike, for this interview. I learned a lot in this 20 minutes, 25 minutes. If anyone wants to connect with you and work with you, how can they connect with you?
Yes, so my email address is uel@vokdams.de. So the first letter of my first name and then the last two letters of my family name. And then from my side, many thanks for having me. I really enjoyed. I would have so many more things, but I think most important is just to keep talking about this topic, about sharing and encouraging. So I'm really thankful I had the chance to talk with you today.
Thank you very much, Ulrike.